This episode of the Lawn Care Business Success Podcast is brought to you by Bluehost. Try the #1 recommended web hosting provider. With plans starting at just $3.95 a month, you'll get a free domain, free site builder, easy one-click WordPress installs, and 24/7 support. But what's just as impressive as what you get is what you don't get, as there's no contracts, no hidden fees, and no gimmicks. Go check them out at lawncarebusinesssuccess.com/Bluehost. You're listening to the Lawn Care Business Success Podcast, the weekly show sharing proven methods and systems in marketing, equipment, and customer service, educational and motivational, to help make your lawn care business an overwhelming success. Now here's your host, Julio Tomei. Welcome, Lawn Care Nation, to another episode of the Lawn Care Business Success Podcast. I'm your host, Julio Tomei, and this is episode number 92, entitled Interview with Danny Lanier from Lanier Lawn Care. Well, hello, everybody, and thanks again for joining me this week on another episode of the Lawn Care Business Success Podcast. I really appreciate you guys tuning in each and every week and downloading the episodes. I also really appreciate the questions and comments that have been coming in as of late. You guys really do seem to enjoy these interview episodes, so that's fantastic. I've been having a blast doing them, and we'll continue to do the interview episodes as long as possible. For those of you that don't know, the podcast episodes are now also available on the Lawn Care Business Success YouTube channel, rather. This was a suggestion by one of the past guests, Jimmy and Jake from Massey Landscape, who suggested that I also put the podcast episodes on the YouTube channel, as they said that there's probably a bunch of guys out there that would like to or do listen to YouTube channels sort of in the background and don't necessarily watch the video. So I thought that was a great idea, and decided that rather than go back and do the full 90 plus episodes, that I would at least go back 10 episodes to the start of when the interviews were started. So those are all up. All the interview episodes are now up and available on the YouTube channel, as well as I've been trying to start to slowly become a bit more active on the YouTube channel with some work footage and stuff like that, inspired by all of you guys out there with your fantastic YouTube channels. So this week we have another great episode, as I mentioned there on the top of the show, with Danny from Lanier Lawn Care. Danny will share with us his lawn care business journey, as well as his marketing tips. Danny, as we got into the interview, I found that Danny uses a lot of Facebook and Craigslist ads, and has quite a bit of experience doing those sorts of marketing efforts, and it's been paying back in dividends for his business. So we're going to get into that, and he'll share his tips and tricks on using Facebook groups and using his own ads in those Facebook groups to generate business. Now, before we get into the show and the episode, I just want to do a special shout out to a very special listener this week. This person has been eagerly anticipating this interview episode. So I'd like to shout out to Laura Long. This is Danny's mother, who is out in Florida, and she is eagerly awaiting this interview episode. So Laura, thanks for tuning into the show this week. I hope you enjoy it. So we will be getting into the interview in its entirety right after I play the podcast announcements, and then we'll get into it right after this. So stay tuned. Hey guys, if you have any questions or comments about the show, I'd love to hear from you. You can head on over to lawncarebusinesssuccess.com/contact. And while you're there, why not join my mailing list and get access to a free PDF document of a landscape maintenance contract you can feel free to copy and use in your own business. For you Instagram users out there, be sure to follow me at Lawn Care Business Success. And if you haven't checked out my videos yet, well, what are you waiting for? Be sure to subscribe to the Lawn Care Business Success YouTube channel. Now, I know you guys love listening to audio while you work as much as I do, so I've partnered up with Audible to offer you guys a free 30-day trial and one free audiobook of your choice. There's no long-term commitments, and you can cancel anytime. And get this, even if you cancel during the trial period, you get to keep your free audiobook. It's a great way to try the service and see if Audible is right for you. So why not give it a try? Head on over to lawncarebusinesssuccess.com/audible. Now back to the show. All right, so I'd like to welcome Danny from Lanier Lawn Care onto the Lawn Care Business Success podcast. Hey, Danny, how's it going?
It's going great. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. So happy that you could join me on the podcast today. I really appreciate you taking the time out.
Hey, I appreciate the opportunity. This is going to be great.
Yeah. So let's get right into the questions. So maybe tell us a bit about yourself and your business.
Well, my name's Danny Lanier. I'm the owner of Lanier Lawn Care, 35 years old. This will be my second year doing this, and it's been an experience. Let me tell you, it's been an up and down battle, but you seem to find ways to overcome things and never give up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's right off the top, a great lesson. So is the lawn care business your main income, or is it a side hustle?
It's my main hustle.
Oh, okay. So what did you do before the lawn care?
I had a good job working at General Motors, and
okay.
I got tired of building cars and got tired of just being another number on the assembly line. And I switched my job over to Valvoline Instant Oil Change. I was an assistant manager there.
Okay.
And, working the weekend thing just got to me. All the hours and everything that you put into it was just crazy. And honestly, our son was born February the 5th of 2015. And when he was born, that's when, we decided my wife makes majority of the money. And by the time we paid a babysitter and I paid for gas and everything to go back and forth to work, I really wasn't going to be making anything. So I took leave of absence from work. And what had happened during that time was I got tired of sitting at home and got real bored. So I pretty much had a zero turn and all the equipment that I did my own lawn with, and decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to start mowing on the side just for something to do. And so I started around in my city, and that's how it all became pretty much.
Oh, okay. So you basically just sort of, sounds like you started part-time there, and it grew into what it's become today.
Yep. The next year, I had all the people that I had mowed for the previous year call me, and they're like, hey, you plan on doing this? And, it was time for me to go back to work full time. And I was like, well, I really don't have the clients. And, it was something I was interested in because of, making your own schedule, and I could work around things a lot better. But, it was just the clients, and I was so worried about that income. But at the same time, it was something I always wanted to do. I loved mowing my own lawn, and I knew I would be happy doing it for other people. So I said, well, let me think about it for a month or so, and I'll get back to you. And so they're like, oh, okay, no problem. And I guess they went and started telling people about the company, or, about my services anyway. And I started getting phone calls, and I was like, well, how did you hear about me? And they're like, oh, so-and-so told me about your services. And so at the beginning of last year, I started with about 18 clients. And I, the first year I was only at like 7 to 10, somewhere around in there, just doing it for fun.
Yeah. And
I was like, well, this is a good start, so I decided I was going to do it again. And by the end of last year, I was up to almost 40 full-time clients.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. 40 is a great number for a solo operation. I'm fascinated actually by the fact that you worked for General Motors and you were, I guess, on the assembly line, you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what was it about that that you didn't like?
I mean, it was really just, I loved what I did, but I've always been in management in every job I'd been in. And I asked them one day, I said, I don't want to be just another number on the assembly line. I would like to be, management. How do I go about doing this? And they told me, well, you go and you apply online through a totally different company. And if they decide they want to interview you, they'll go and they'll pull you off the assembly line and do your interview, and then they'll go from there. And I was like, so you mean to tell me I could walk out right now and apply for this position and still probably get hired? And they said, yeah. And, mind you, this was back when they were having a lot of recalls and everything. And, if we got a foot of snow here in Kansas City, then they still wanted you to come to work. I was there 2.5 years and I was still a temp. They hadn't even made me full-time employee yet. And it was just, I liked what I did, but it started to become embarrassing to tell people that I worked there because they cared more about the quantity of cars they put out than they did about the quality of the cars they put out. And it just didn't interest me that much anymore.
That's fascinating. I've always, thought it would be neat to go and tour a vehicle factory like that, but I can totally understand that portion of it, the what you're talking about, feeling like a number and stuff, especially if you're putting in the time that you're putting and the dedication that you're putting in. Like you said, if there's like a foot of snow and all that sort of stuff, and you're still making it out there to work, as difficult as it may seem to get out and do that sort of stuff, and you're putting your time in, yet it's all up to basically a random process when it comes to moving up,
right.
and all of your efforts and hard work seem to go unnoticed or unappreciated. So that could be very disheartening. I could see how that would become very monotonous. When you could have just any old person apply online and get a position higher than you after you've been putting in your time and your dues for so long before that. So yeah, that's a difficult situation. So what you said you were you had the equipment, your zero turn and stuff for doing your own lawn and all that. But so what first attracted you to, say, the lawn care industry and made you want to start your own business?
Well, when we moved to our house, the lawn was horrible. And if you go to my Instagram, I've got before and after pictures of it. And I mean, it just looked bad. And I've always been the type that, I want to make my property look good, regardless of where I live.
Okay.
And so we started, doing it. I edged it all out. We went through and I killed literally just about all the grass in the yard, which was pretty much weeds anyway. Went through and dethatched it, core aerated it, overseeded it, all that good stuff. Yeah. And it turned out beautiful. I mean, just absolutely beautiful. And I really enjoyed mowing my own yard and making it look beautiful. And everybody kept telling me, man, you got a beautiful yard. I could be outside in the morning and everybody that walks up and down the street would just, ooh and ah over my lawn. And I'm like, man, that's a good feeling to have. Like, yes. I would really like to pass that on to other people and make their property look good. So that's what got me interested in it.
Okay. Oh, that's very cool. That's I can relate to a lot of that there. That whole process that you did, I sort of almost think of it as my specialty for my own business, and I call them lawn renovations, and sell them as complete packages every spring. I have done literally hundreds, if not thousands of them over the 12 years in business, and it's the same result every time, and people are just like amazed at it. I've had people come up to me and saying like you're describing, going like, "What's your secret? Like, what's?"
Right.
And it's like the secret is hard work. It's doing all the steps required: that core aeration, the dethatching, the fertilizing, overseeding, top dressing, like going through it, not skipping a step. So it's kind of funny that you were relating to that, because I was like instantly relating to your story there. So do you have any employees, or are you a one-man operation?
Usually it's just me.
Okay.
During, like, if we get rain or something and I start getting behind, then I've got some friends, especially during the summer, that are more than willing to go out and help me take care of what I need to get taken care of and get caught back up. But usually you'll just see it being me 9 times out of 10. But I do have people and friends that, either they have a part-time job, they're trying to make ends meet, so forth and so on. And if I can help somebody out, then I'm more than willing to do that as well. So.
Okay. That's so do you have any like future plans of expanding the business with employees, or do you want to stay, like, for me, I've had no interest at all in employees. So I've always been a solo operation, and I always plan to be a solo operation. What's it like for you?
I really love doing it solo, but there's times that I wish I had an actual partner, or, a helper to actually help me full time. But, my plans for it is I would love to grow the company. I would love to be one of these, I don't want to be huge per se, but I'd like to be where Top Notch is at, somewhere around in there where I've got some employees and I can run, maybe one more crew eventually. And I'd be happy with that. I'm content where I am now, but, I'm not going to turn down success. So,
yeah. No, that's a good point. Like I said, I've always liked the just the freedom of being a solo, but I have had, like you, occasional helpers from time to time, and it does make me think when I'm sitting there going, man, that was a lot quicker today with that person helping me, or doing something that I could concentrate on something a little bit more important, or something that required more skill, and maybe the cleanup being done by a helper or something like that.
Right. So, I mean, the biggest problem I think I would have with it is nobody's going to treat your company like you would.
Yes.
And I think that's my biggest thing that I would have to overcome if I decided to start a second crew, is I feel like I would have to watch over them regardless, to make sure that it's up to my standards. And I'm still learning myself. So, there's things I do that ain't even up to my standards, but, you live and learn, and that's how you get there.
Yeah, no, it's another bunch of great points there. I believe everybody, it doesn't matter, who you are, whether you're, the biggest lawn care company with multiple crews. I think you're always learning. So there's nothing, nothing that isn't abnormal out of that. I would say with the employees that with me, it's almost exactly the same. I see some people who've had issues with employees, and that kind of worries me, with the company reputation and image, and even, looking after your own equipment. It's hard sometimes. I've seen with employees that they just don't care about your stuff, right? So it's when you've worked so hard and you're paying off stuff, and
especially when you're talking about a mower that you could buy a vehicle with.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, and then even that, and then even your own vehicle, that brings up a good point, right? Of having, having somebody else under the insurance and all that sort of stuff. I don't know how it is where you are, but here, we have, you get sort of a safe driving discount, attached to your vehicle. But if, and it doesn't matter who's driving the vehicle, it's attached to the insurance of the vehicle. So if you say, let somebody drive that car and they get into an accident, regardless of, whether you have 20 or 30 years accident free, your insurance then skyrockets because it's attached to the vehicle and somebody got into an accident with that vehicle. So that's a sort of a hurdle too for me in having employees, if I had to ever have a second crew or driving a vehicle that's insured under my name.
It's definitely a lot of pros and cons to think about before you decide to do it.
Yeah. So how would you define success?
Oh, well, to me, success is having a job that you enjoy, feeling that excitement about what you do. I think success is providing a great quality life for me and my family. And, it's a continuous journey. So.
All right. That's a great answer. I love the part about your family there. That's, one of my top priorities as well. And like I've mentioned before on the podcast, I love that question because everybody's answer is different, but it's all the same. It all sort of is on that same sort of theme of just, being self-employed and having that family life and being able to basically be in control of your destiny. But everybody has little different aspects and stuff. So I really love that question. And it's what drives me. And I always, talk about the fact that it's funny that I call the podcast Lawn Care Business Success, and a lot of people think it means listen to this podcast and you're going to make millions of dollars in a lawn care business, and it's absolutely the opposite of that. It's completely about the quality of life for yourself. And just controlling your own destiny. If you want to make a lot of money, you can make a lot of money, but you can also have that work-life balance as well.
Right. Yeah, I've been told, if you'll never work a day in your life if you love what you do.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I love that quote. I've heard it many times as well. Do you, in your lawn care business, do you offer any services that are not lawn care or landscaping related, like, say, power washing, for example, or window cleaning?
I do offer power washing.
Okay. Any tips or anything on guys that are thinking about maybe doing something like that?
Well, my best advice on anything, if you plan on starting from scratch, just like I did, is probably don't give up. And, you just got to get out there and market. If you have to go door to door every day and put 100 flyers on doors to try to start your business of whatever it is that you want to do, then that's what you got to do. It pretty much boils down to how much commitment do you have and how bad do you want it.
Yep, absolutely. I, in my own business as well, offer a ton of different services, and it varies from month to month and year to year, basically depending on how busy I am with the mowing side of things. The mowing is always my favorite part of the business. I love the mowing, but if things are slower, depending on the time of year, if we go into a drought or things like that, that's when I can start adding those other services. And I'm always on the lookout throughout the year, even when it's busy, mowing lawns, looking at my customers' properties and sort of either making mental notes or sometimes even making physical notes in my phone or something about what I see, whether it's a gate latch that's coming apart, or some fence panels that need replacing, or hedge trimming that needs to be done, or power washing, and just making notes of that stuff for those slower times, or times where the lawn care, like I said, slows down in the summer or things like that, and you can start asking those clients about those other services.
Yep.
To keep the business constantly going. So what type of work do you prefer? Commercial or residential? Do you do both, or do you just stick to the one?
I do both, but I actually, it's a win-win for me, I guess. I like doing both. I really don't have a either or.
Okay.
With commercial properties, I mean, to me, it's better money, but there's more risk in it because there's more cars around. There's more things that could happen. Mm-hmm. But with residential customers, you get to building those relationships and you really get to enjoy getting to know those people. And, it's about like Kevin said, you're on their property and you need that trust. That's what everybody looks for, is someone they can trust in the lawn care industry, that if they're not home, they don't have any worries. I've had people that weren't home, and for an example, when I first got my V-Ride, I actually did run into a lady's fence and tear off a fence post, or a picket, shall I say. And, the first thing I did was literally let her know that, hey, I messed this up. She had a guy that does her fence constantly, and so she called him out. I, paid for the repairs and got it taken care of. So, it's got its pros and cons for either or, but if it came right down to it and I had to choose one, I really like meeting new people. So residential would be for me all the way.
Okay. For me, I'm similar. I love the residential side of it. Had some negative experiences with commercial, just in, I wouldn't say super negative, just found out that, I find it interesting that you said there was better money in the commercial. For me, it was the opposite. It was like, I just found them to be just cheaper and harder to work with in that respect, versus the residential. I feel pay more of a premium. But on another side note, a funny story there about you going through or hitting a picket with your V-Ride. That was the first day you had the V-Ride?
It was the first week I had it.
Okay.
And I had started, I mowed my yard, and I mowed my neighbors, like 3 of my neighbors' yards for free, just to try to get used to the thing, because it was a total different feeling going from a sit down mower to something that had way more power, and the hydros are just totally different. And so I tried to get used to it first, and I was pretty used to it before, I was willing to take it on somebody else's property. And it just happened to be a turn that I was going up a hill, that I'm not sure exactly if a wheel slipped or something, but when I did, it kind of jumped up on me a little bit, and it ran into the picket.
Oh, okay. Now, the reason I bring that up is because I had a very similar experience to you. So this makes me feel a lot better that I'm not the only one. The first time, literally the very first day, I bought my walker mower. I took it to my house and, never had used one before. So I practiced on my own front lawn before going to this job that I had. So I get to, I felt pretty comfortable on it. Went around my cul-de-sac a couple times as well. Just getting a feel for the controls. Then loaded it up, went to this house, and it was a first time. They had signed up for regular lawn maintenance, but it required a first cut, and they had moved into this house that nobody had lived in for a bit. So the lawn was very tall. It was at least a couple feet tall in some spots. So I was like, okay, great. Perfect test for the walker, and that whole GHS system and all that sort of stuff. So I start using the machine, and I'm going along this fence line, and the mower falls into basically a hole that I couldn't see because the lawn was so tall.
Oh, wow.
And it sort of wedged itself. So it looked like half the lawn, the original half that I was on was leveled, but then the other half wasn't. It was sloped down towards the fence. So I sort of went off this drop off, and the walker sort of wedged itself against the fence. And I was like, oh, shoot. And then not sort of starting to panic and not used to the controls, I hit the controls, and that big, huge box bin in the back, it swung on a dime, and I took out the whole fence. And the lawn behind was actually, it was like up against another person's backyard, and it was actually a drop off of about 6 feet to the next lawn. And there was this raging pit bull that was not happy that I just took out the fence panel, but luckily he couldn't get up because it was like a 6-foot thing. But the walker was like precariously perched up against one of the fence posts with a back end overhanging this other property, the fence panel. But literally because of that, even though it was a brand new customer, I had built that rapport right away with them. So I called them right away. They were actually the second call I made. The first one was to a friend of mine who, knew how to do fence repairs and all that sort of stuff, and was on his way with the fence panels and everything required to fix it. So the customer actually I couldn't get a hold of, but they were actually pulling into the driveway. And so I went to talk to them and I said, hey, I just, hate to tell you this. I know it's the first time I'm out here, but I just, smashed the fence accidentally with the machine. It fell into the ditch. And his immediate concern was the dog next door because his kids like to play in the yard, right? And I said, but don't worry about it. There's already somebody on their way to fix the fence, and I won't leave until it's done. And that, sort of incident of something bad happening turned, because of my reaction and how I handled it, that turned that relationship into, a really strong bond after that, because he knew that I would take care of and take responsibility for anything that ever happened. And like I say, when you build those relationships and stuff, it makes it a lot easier to deal with stuff like that.
Oh yeah, you can never be too honest. I mean, if you're honest with them, that just tells them right off the bat that, hey, no matter what, like you said, no matter what happens, this guy's going to be honest with me. He's willing to take responsibility, and that's what clients want. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's totally. Another funny side note there was having, I couldn't get the walker out from the sort of hole on my own. And the way it was pitched. So I had to call the dealer. And it's funny, like literally 2 hours before, when I picked up the walker from the dealer, they're like, if you need anything, just give me a call, right? So I'm phoning them and they're like, well, that didn't take long. And they were out there, and to their credit, the sales guy actually came out, and he actually went, because the other side, like I said, it was a 6-foot sort of drop, but it wasn't a full drop. It was like a bit of a slope. He actually went into the yard with the raging pit bull, and was pushing the walker from that end, while a couple of us, the guy that I called to help with the fence and me, were pulling the walker from the other end. And I was like, oh my God, this guy's going to get bit by this dog.
Hey, that's good customer service right there.
Yes, it was good customer service. So that sort of leads me into the next question. Share with us a time when you struggled in your business and what you did or learned to overcome it.
Oh man, I'm like everybody. I don't have any struggles. What are you talking about? Yeah. My biggest struggle was probably starting off so slow when I first started. It can really get to you.
Yes.
That's probably the biggest struggle that I've seemed to have was literally getting started and figuring out how to get new clients. And, I was so discouraged by going and hanging 100 door hangers on my days off and getting maybe one phone call or none, that it'll really get to you.
Yes.
And all you can do is pick your head up and keep doing it. And then, eventually they're going to start coming in. It may not be right off the bat, but eventually they're going to start calling. And, it may be that they're going out of town for vacation. I had a guy that went out of town. The year before, he didn't use me. Last year, he called me and said, hey, we're going out of town. Could you take care of mine and my mother's property for 2 weeks? I said, sure, no problem. We took care of it for 2 weeks. They come back. He told me, hey, I appreciate it. I'm going to take over from here. And he mowed it one time. The next day he called me and he said, Danny, you do such a much better job than I do. Could you please add us to your weekly schedule? Uh-huh. And, it'll make you feel good knowing that your hard work don't go unnoticed. It never goes unnoticed. You know, I mean, everybody drives by the houses that you do, and, you know, they may not know your phone number. You may not have a yard sign out, but, you know, it don't go unnoticed.
Yeah, no, that's a great lesson there. I take from that the mental game that everybody plays with themselves. You think a certain way, and you know, you're always discouraged, like you said, when things aren't going the way or as quick as you think they should, and you might be struggling when you're starting out to, say, pay bills and things like that, and you know, worried about those sorts of things, and then you get very discouraged in your head, and a lot of times wanting to quit. But like you said, you just need to just keep at it, keep going. And I'll tell you, even you know, to this day, in my own business, and even with this podcast, you know, I'm on you know, over 90 episodes of this podcast, and there's still almost on a weekly basis where I'll sit and go, you know, I think I'm done. I don't want to, you know, I'm not going to do it anymore. What's the point? Nobody listens, and that sort of stuff. You play games with yourself. Yet
Right.
I look at the download numbers and things like that, and it's like off the charts compared to how it was when I first started. And you just, you know, and then I'll get an email from somebody saying how much they've enjoyed these episodes with the interviews, how much it's helping them, and all that sort of stuff. And then I'm like, okay, it sort of snaps me back in. And I'm like, okay,
Right.
yeah, like, yeah, now, yeah, that's, you know, re-energizes you and sort of stuff. You just got to remember to not, whether it's the lawn mowing or whatever you're doing, to not give up, just to keep going and go through that. So I love stories like that, because it really, everybody can relate to it. And that's, you know, why I also shared that story there about the podcast and having thoughts of quitting and that sort of stuff too, because everybody goes through it, and you just have to sort of snap out of it and look at the long-term goals for it. Everybody wants the results quick.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you have to remember what is required to go into it.
Yeah, the biggest struggles you face is literally half the time how you think about things.
Yep. Absolutely. I've shared that story before as well, about sitting in my truck with my daughter at the garden center, and the other car pulled up, or the other lawn care company pulled up, and my daughter said, "Hey Dad, there's your competition." And I said to her in that moment, you know, they're not my competition. My only competition is myself.
Yep.
And just, you know, doing that sort of thing. So let me see here. So what's your favorite thing about being self-employed?
You know, I think everybody knows the favorite thing is the freedom you have.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't have to worry about, oh, I woke up late for work. You know, I get up and I do what I want and how I want to do it. And, you know, I mean, I've got customers that are on a schedule. They know what day I'm going to be there, but I don't schedule it enough to where if I do wake up late, that I'm going to be behind and be rushing, you know. My quality's not going to go down just because I woke up late.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That for me is the number one thing as well about being self-employed. A lot of, like I said, it sort of relates that story. I like asking that question because a lot of people, again, think that it's about making tons of money. And by asking that question throughout all these interviews, the answer has always been the same. It's always been that freedom and the control has always been the number one reason for everybody. So I find that, interesting. And not that I, like I said, didn't know that already, because that's how I've always felt. Yep. But just, it's good for the new guys coming up to when they have those times of, when they're discouraged, to know that, they've already got, just by taking that step, they've already got that first part of the puzzle solved. So in Lanier Lawn Care, In what ways do you market your business? And maybe share your number one marketing tip.
I market on Facebook a lot. The Facebook
Okay.
groups, every city I go to, I'm a member of that Facebook group page.
Okay.
And so I post ads just about every other to probably every other day or so.
Okay.
I post an ad to keep people, the way I look at it is the more they see my name,
Yep.
when they think of lawn care, I'm going to be the first name that they think of.
Yep.
And so I got to keep that in their head. And so, I do a lot of Facebook groups, and I think that that's probably my number one way of gaining clients. My second way is word of mouth from my my current clients.
Okay.
Word of mouth is a great way to grow your business. I do door hangers. I don't do. I do flyers. Like I'll go to gas stations around my area. I'll go to the supermarket, Walmart or the grocery stores, the eat-in businesses, places like that have them boards that you can hang stuff on, and I'll put flyers on them.
Okay, so that's actually awesome that you mentioned the Facebook stuff, because I haven't really had a guest touch on that sort of things, and it's obviously a huge growing area for marketing. So when you're talking about Facebook, if you don't mind us talking a bit about that.
Oh, hit me.
So you're talking about doing ads on Facebook? So these are paid ads, I'm assuming?
Nope.
Okay.
I actually make my own ads.
Okay.
And then I share them to the groups from my lawn care page.
So what sort of groups are you talking about? Just like areas or?
Yep. Like I live in Harrisonville, and we have a Cass County swap and shop, and we have a Harrisonville actual city swap and shop page.
Okay.
And I'll post to both of those pages. You gotta look at it like this: is all of these groups have 1,000 or more members in them. So every time you post an ad, you may not get 1,000, views or whatever on that ad, but because you have to post at different times of the day. So like one time I'll post an ad in the morning, another time I'll post an ad in the afternoon, another time I may post one at midnight.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's got a different schedule. I think the last ad I posted, it said it reached over 12,000 people.
Oh, okay.
So, there's a lot of people out there on Facebook that you can reach that you could have never reached by doing door hangers.
Oh, okay. So are these, help me understand, like I don't spend a lot of time on Facebook anymore. I used to use it quite a bit for, just staying in touch with family members and stuff. And then, personally, I just got annoyed by all of the, basically, fake website things that kept clogging up my feed, and videos that you, always inherently click to watch,
right.
And things, and then half your day is gone. Right. So, I got fed up with basically using it. So with these groups, are they groups that are talking about like things that are happening in those areas, or are they groups specifically for sharing, ads for companies and things like that?
Well, a lot of these groups are literally a place to sell items you have, but they also have a place that if you don't want to post an ad, you can start a discussion.
Okay.
And in that start discussion is where I will post, because I'm not selling anything, for somebody to buy. I'm promoting my business. And so I start a discussion, and then I just post my ad on there. And that way, because every Facebook group has a mediator or whatever you want to call it, to where if it ain't what they like, then they're allowed to take it down and everything.
Yes.
So, I try to follow all the rules. I'm not selling anything. I'm just trying to simply promote my business and get people to look at what I can offer.
Okay. So are you using that sort of starting a discussion on a particular topic as sort of the strategy to get your ad in there?
Nope. There's no topic. It's just literally, you just click on start a discussion, post what you want to, and it goes on the page just like you were trying to sell something.
Oh, okay. So you're just doing basically a graphic type advertisement.
Yep. Like right now it's a video. I switch back and forth between a video advertisement and just a picture of my logo with the phone number on it, talking about, hey, are you looking for good, reliable lawn care? This is what we have to offer, so forth and so on. And, get that picture into their memory and keep them coming back.
Okay. That's totally fascinating to me. Like I said, because it's something I haven't explored. Probably something I would like to maybe try this year. I'm not sure if you've listened to past episodes of the podcast, but this past year was probably going to be setting me up for a pretty, I would say, a struggle for this next coming season coming up, this 2017 season. That was just, I've told or talked about a lot of times how the cost of real estate has skyrocketed super fast here in the Vancouver, Canada area. Like, it's insane. The average home price was hitting $2 million. And because of that, there was tons of outside investors, because you could basically double your money within 4 years, of buying a house. And in 4 years, it would be worth twice as much as it was when you bought it.
Right.
So it was getting insane. And because of that, a whole bunch of my clients last year, it was sort of, going to a fever pitch. And there was talk about the government stepping in with some tax rules to sort of discourage these outside investors that don't actually live in the area. Because what would happen is these investors would buy houses, sit on them, and not actually live in them, which would actually cause a supply and demand problem, and would basically make the housing go up in price even more, because now what was available for sale, there's a lot less of. So it was this vicious cycle. So anyways, because of the talk, a lot of customers decided, and they were older, retiring, were like, well, let's get out of Dodge. Let's put the house for sale, cash out on this crazy bonanza, and move out of town. So I had the single most amount of people. I must have lost at least 15 or 20 clients last year alone, just from moving. And they weren't moving across town. They were moving out of town completely.
Oh, wow.
So I took a big hit towards the end of the year there. It's now slowed down because the government did impose those rules, but made it, like for this year, having to rebuild again. So this is fascinating me because it's something like I've never tried before, the Facebook ads and stuff like that. So when you're doing these, have you ever gotten pushback from people in the groups?
I have never had anybody tell me that they didn't like what I was doing, or I shouldn't be posting that there. So to answer that, no.
Okay. So are you looking for, you said you join multiple groups. Mm-hmm. So are you looking for something specific when you're thinking about doing these types of ads?
The only thing I'm looking for is the areas that I actually travel.
Okay.
I try not to post in areas that I do not go, because the last thing I need is to travel out of my way to do something because I messed up. But, pretty much I join all these groups that in these cities that I actually go to, and I just post.
Okay. So are these, I'm trying to sort of niche down here on,
go for it.
On what these groups are. So are they just generic, like this is the community type group, or is it maybe a specific topic like for that city, like say minor league baseball or something like that in that city sort of group, or is it just generic about like area, neighborhood and areas?
It's just for that area, pretty much. I mean, you can join whatever you want, and so if they're selling something in Independence, of course it's going to pop up on my page for the group that, hey, so and so selling this, and whatever, so forth and so on. But pretty much, I mean, all of these sites are just for people to either start a discussion. It could be something as small as, hey, my name's Danny Lanier. I'm looking for a fence company to give me a quote on replacing my fence.
Oh, okay.
Or it could be, hey, I'm selling a 70-inch TV for so much money, and post that on there.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I mean, there's really no specific thing. You can pretty much join whatever group you want to. And some of these groups, if you don't live in that area, then they won't add you to the group.
Okay.
You'll have to send them a message and say, hey, this is what my plans are, so forth and so on. And then they can add you. And then if you go above, you go up beyond their rules, I guess you could say, then they have the access to turn right around and block you and delete you from that group as well. So
yeah. So it's sort of a fine line. You don't want to be, you basically want to check out the rules first,
right,
before what their posting rules and stuff are for that specific group. So once you're in that group and you're starting to post an ad that you've created yourself, are you self-moderating yourself as far as how often you post in that specific group? Do you have like a plan or a guideline that you sort of go by, or are you just doing, like you said, 3 times a day, every day, as far as your ads go?
Well, usually with my ads, like I said, I'll post during the morning time, and then I'll wait 48 hours. Facebook has been acting up on bumping ads up. So instead of bumping ads, I'll go back and I'll delete my old ads, so I'm not making people mad by posting a lot per se for them. Yeah. To take up that page space. So I'll go back and I'll delete the ads, and then I'll post them a couple days later at a different time of the day. And I'll do that again a couple days later, and I'll do it at a different time of the day. And like I said, everybody's on a different schedule. So some people ain't going to see it at that time you posted at 6 a.m. that morning. Some people ain't going to see it at noon, but eventually everybody's going to look and see that. So
it'll cross their path at some point. Yep. That's awesome. I love that strategy, that you're doing it like that, and not just because what would worry me is even if it was sort of an acceptable practice to sort of do it, because you hear about the guys that do like the Craigslist ads. And
I've done that too.
Have you? Okay, so we'll get into that as well. But it seems more of the Craigslist ads seem more of a spammy type thing, where you're just like trying to do it over and over and over and over again to get it, just the way that Craigslist kind of works, where it kind of disappears as it moves down the list there. So yeah, this is totally fascinating. And the fact that you can specifically target the exact area or neighborhood that you want. I know, I've heard a little bit about the actual paid Facebook ads and how they can, you can niche down to, if you want homeowners only at a specific age, and that you can get your ad to show up exactly, in front of who you want it, which is super powerful, but also takes, some income to try to do that, which is difficult for people just starting out in the business. And what you're suggesting is a free option, that could get or yield some great results.
The thing about promoting whenever you start to pay Facebook to promote those ads is when it asks you the age group and stuff that you want to use, it also gives you an area circle, and it asks you about how many miles. Now, the thing I don't like about that, and the reason I don't use that promote my business, is because it goes outside the area that I do. So I don't want them people, in that 20-mile radius west of me to think that I go out there to do lawn care business when I don't. So that's why I just target the area specifically that I go to.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally get that too. I try to compact my route as much as possible. I now only work in a specific neighborhood where when I first started my business, I was all over the city and driving all over the place. And it's funny, I actually changed my company name a few years back to the name of the neighborhood that I work in to sort of, have people sort of get the hint that this is where I work in.
Right.
And it's funny because I actually still get calls from all over the place, including, like I'm here on the west coast of Canada, and I got a call from a lady last year, left a message saying, I'm wondering, we're having a barbecue on the weekend and wondering if you could, come out and take a look. It hasn't been mowed yet this season. So we'd like to, have it done before the weekend so we can have our barbecue. And she left her ad. She says her address. She goes, it's just down the street from the lake. And I'm thinking, there's no lake where I live.
Right.
Like, what the heck? Right. So I do a quick search, and the community that I named my company after is also the name of this lakeside community in California.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, okay, well, I'm in Canada, so I'm not driving all the way to California.
No joke.
to do your lawn. So I thought that was kind of funny. So let's get into the Craigslist then that you mentioned, because that's another area that I have not touched on in my podcast ever. And I've never tried it and never done it. So what is like the Facebook side of it? What's your strategy there for Craigslist?
Pretty much you just post your ad. My main title that stands out is the name of my company. Okay. And then when they click on that, if they click on that, then it goes into, what I do and what I offer pretty much. And then I have a picture of my logo with my phone number on it there for them to call. I've talked to a bunch of people that say that it's they get a lot of spam off of there and they haven't had luck with it. I'm totally the opposite. Every call my very first client ever, was off of Craigslist. And, it happened to be a $400,000 house. Mm-hmm. And I went and quoted him, and I've had him as a client ever since.
Oh, wow.
I've never had a problem with Craigslist. Everybody that's ever called me, I still have as a client to this day.
Oh, so that's another great, free option. So what's your strategy there as opposed to, like you were saying with the Facebook, you're doing an ad every few days, you're removing the old ad, and we've heard the stories of Keith Kalfas and his strategy with Craigslist when he started, and he had 3 accounts going, and he would be posting so much on one account that they would block his account, and then he would just start a new account on another one, and just keep going and going, just out of sheer desperation when he was starting. So what's your strategy there with Craigslist versus the Facebook?
Well, I don't take it as far as Keith did, but really, I don't have a strategy behind it. Whenever it tells me I can renew my post, I renew my post. That's pretty much it. I post it, and once it quits letting me renew it over a certain amount of time, then I will delete that ad and I will start a new ad. Okay,
so are you renewing it on? How often are you renewing it?
I think it lets you renew it every couple of days.
Okay. So you just post the ad once, and is it just a text ad, or again, are you putting like a graphic or?
I add pictures to it. Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
So if they click on it, then not only do they see a picture of my logo, I think the one I have going right now has pictures of properties I've actually done as well to give them a taste of what you can offer.
Yep. Are you mentioning any prices or anything in these ads, or?
If I do, it's that my prices start at $30. And then, if they call, then we can go from there. I'll go give them an actual, quote. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I usually like to mention, that way it's not a waste of my time and it's not a waste of their time.
Okay. Do you, besides, the Craigslist and the Facebook, do you have a website for your company?
Well, it's a funny story. Me and my wife actually sat down and started a free Weebly site.
Okay.
Or it might have been a Wix. I think it was Weebly. But we started a free site, and then I got to talking to Lanier Lawn Care about, making me a site. And he told me, well, go ahead and send your host domain and everything over to me, and we'll get started on it. And so we sent the host domain over to him, and did what he wanted and made up all these words for our different services we offer and stuff. And he calls me back and he's like, so you're in Kansas City area? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, I have a rule that I just can't do your website. And I'm like, well, how come, And he's like, well, he did Blake's from B&B Lawn Care's website, and he don't like doing other people's websites that are close to each other within a certain radius, I guess you could say.
Okay. Yeah.
And because you don't want the businesses to, collide with each other.
Yes. Yeah.
And so, I understand that. And so we did have a start to one, and then it went, downhill. So we're back at square one again, pretty much on that. But that's one thing that I really, after that experience, I was just like, well, maybe it's just not meant to be right now. I'm going to go on about my year, and I will worry about it next year. So I took that as pretty much a hint, and that's how that worked out.
Okay. Well, I can see from Ring's point of view, because he's not a web design company.
Right. Yeah.
If he was a web design company, obviously you wouldn't expect that, and you'd be like, what's your deal, buddy? But because he's in the lawn care and he's building relationships with people, and it's more about that in the community, I could see him not wanting to step on other guys, because it could be taken the wrong way by, say, Blake or whoever else is maybe, especially if he's charging for the websites to be built. If he's doing it for one guy and trying to help them out, and then he turns around, does another one in the same area. Right. So I can see his point of view there.
Yeah. There's no hard feelings between me and Brian, and I totally, understood. And, I was like, okay, well, hey, that's, I understand where you're coming from, and, hey, I'll take this and I'll move forward. I told him, I said, I'll figure it out. At least he was honest with me. He didn't, leave me on the hook and say, oh, well, and give me excuses. He was upfront and honest. Brian's a great guy, and, there's no hard feelings there. Yeah,
no, that's awesome. And just to maybe a small hint there, if you would like to, I have a video on my YouTube. One of the first videos I did, a tutorial, basically step by step, holding your hand through the whole process of building a WordPress website for your lawn care business. And I actually had somebody recently who is just getting into the business this year with no experience, and he is building his website using my video and giving me feedback. And within a couple of days, I went and checked his website and stuff, and he had it up and going, and was following my steps, and built his own website with no previous experience. Like I said, it's a step-by-step video. It's about,
I'm definitely going to have to watch that.
It's a long one. It's about an hour or so, but
nothing better to do right now.
But it will hold your hand and walk you through every step and show you what to expect, what screens are going to come up, and all that sort of stuff.
Brian's got a, Brian Ring, he has on his website, a thing that kind of goes over the WordPress, a step by step of how to do it. It's not a video, and I'm not very, I love computers. I built my own computer that I use, and, but when it comes to WordPress and building websites and stuff, I'm more of I have to see to know what's going on, not, okay, well, this makes no sense to me, and now what do I do?
Oh, okay.
Type of person. So he has some information on his, but it's not a video tutorial. And I think that would help me out a lot, because
yeah, I think that's why I built it, just to help guys that have no experience and don't have, like I said, no experience with the websites and no budget to be able to hire somebody and do it. When I did my very first website, this is going to age me. It was like back in the early 90s, and I did it back then by actually coding HTML, and I taught myself how to do it by basically opening a website that I would like, and then you could open the source code for the website and see the actual HTML code. And if I saw a picture of, say, a fire truck on that website, I would look for the source code where it referenced the fire truck picture. And I would look at that code and go, okay, so if I want to put a picture, I got to copy this code. And then I would do it with a different picture and it would work. And that's how I taught myself how to originally code websites. And now with WordPress, it's so easy once you get the hang of it. It's mind-blowing how fast you'll be able to do it, and the plugins available for your website, as far as, if you want to have your Instagram feed there. So every time you automatically post a picture on your website, it pops up on your Instagram, it pops up on your website. I have a fully automated sort of take where customers can leave their information on the website, and if they're requesting a quote, their address, their phone numbers, what they want, and it basically puts it in a database and then text messages me the information, so I can then click on the address and look at it in Google Maps and then phone them back. And it's like having a secretary at the website there working 24 hours a day for no cost. So definitely something I would recommend for people to have if you own your own
something
business.
I'm going to check out. That's awesome to know.
So we went into the success, we went into the winter. So in my business, I always get this question all the time. And when I tell people that I own a lawn care business and all that, they're always like, what do you do in the winter time? So yeah. So in your business and your area, do you guys have a winter time where there's an off season? And what do you do in the winter?
Oh yeah, we have a winter time. It came later this last year. Normally it's like middle of November. I'm done mowing.
Yeah.
Last year it was pretty much middle of December before it actually started getting cold enough to say, hey, okay, it's time to quit. But if I can go without doing anything, then that's pretty much what I do. But I do. I have a drone, and so I'm in with some realtors, and if they are trying to sell a house or a big farm property or something like that, I do aerial footage and pictures for these realtors during the winter time. Or, I have a hobby. I play pool a lot. Yeah. And so I'll go and do pool tournaments and stuff to get extra money during the winter as well.
Oh, cool. That's very fascinating. I love the drone part with realtors. Seems to be such a popular service now. I think I've heard multiple times from lawn care guys that have drones that they've been either approached or have approached real estate agents and have been making sort of a side income doing that occasionally for realtors. So that's very interesting as well. Would give you also some good footage for maybe your lawn care YouTube channel, which we are going to get into next.
Oh, me.
So, looking up Lanier Lawn Care as of this morning, there are 2,222 YouTube subscribers to your channel, and 2,175 Instagram followers. So are you as mind blown by that as I am when it comes to this whole social media and sharing and stuff?
I am totally mind blown. I started doing YouTube, honestly, because of Andy from Cut and Clean Lawn Care.
Okay.
me and him got to talking, and we had hung out a couple of times, and he's like, man, you got to do this. And I'm like, well, at first I was like, well, why would I want to do that? And then he's like, well, it gives you something to do, and look forward to, and then you can edit the videos. And so, I was going and watching his, and I started out watching, B&B Lawn Care, Top Notch, before I even got started in the business. And so I thought, well, this could be fun. I like meeting new people, so this is a way to actually meet a lot of new people. And I think he started a couple months before I did.
Okay.
And so I said, all right, so I started doing the whole little YouTube thing, and it got pretty bad. Like I was like, man, this video is great, and then I was like, man, this video sucks, and it ended up getting a lot of views, and I'm like, wow, how did that get a lot of views and this one didn't? But that's how I started YouTube, was because of Andy from Cut and Clean. He gets all the credit for me starting YouTube. I never thought I would see 2,000 subscribers, more or less 1,000 subscribers, Mm-hmm. I was like, I just started doing it because it was like what I liked doing. And I just wanted to put my experience out there and share it with other people on my journey of how it, began.
Yep.
And, so that's how it all started. And now that I'm at, like you said, over 2,000, I mean, it's been crazy. The past month, I think I've gained over 100 subscribers.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing to watch that count continue to rise. And that, that many people actually watch your stuff. I mean, I got videos that I never thought would be great, and they're at 40,000 plus views right now. And it's mind blowing to me as much as it is to other people. Just ask Andy at Cut and Clean, because I'm sure he'll tell you. He called me one day and he's like, hey man, you got a video that's going viral. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, dude, it's got like 20 something thousand views. And I'm like, okay, well, so I got, I had to get on there and look, and I was like, oh, wow. And so now it's been, 2 or 3 months later, and now it's at over 40,000 views. And I'm like, man, this is just crazy. Like, it's a great feeling to know that your video's getting passed around and that other people enjoy watching it as much as you do making it.
Yeah, that's it's interesting. Did you have any reservations about initially sharing online?
I was never the type of person to stand up in front of a classroom and give a speech. So I really never seen myself recording myself and putting it out there for thousands of people to see. But the more I did it, the more I enjoyed it. And so now I'm at the point to where it's like, I don't even care anymore. I'll post to post.
Yeah. So you have no issues now walking, say, in public or recording or anything like that. I'm, like I say, I ask as well too, because it's no secret that I share on the podcast that I'm like, I would call myself the world's most introverted person. And I just, I've recorded myself working before. I actually just posted a short little video of some footage I found for the first time this morning. Of me working, doing a small leaf cleanup and stuff on my YouTube channel. And it's, I just found it very strange to be sitting there with the camera recording me. And I remember at one point with one of the homes, I took it thinking, because they're usually never home. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll just, mow their lawn and put this tripod up and do that. And then 3/4 of the way, I see the curtains moving. So I'm like, oh, shoot.
They're like, well, what's going on out there?
They're looking at me going, what the heck are you doing? So yeah, I just found, I find it very hard to go in front of the camera, at the moment. So I'm sure, you have or had a similar experience when you started. What would be your tips to guys wanting to start, say, a YouTube channel and all that?
If it's something that you want to do then do it. You know, I mean, there's guys out there that's got great content that have 200 subscribers. You know, but the thing is I've got 2,000 subscribers, but if you look at my analytics on it, I've got 85% of the people that watch my videos are not even subscribed to my channel, which is just mind blowing to me.
Yeah. That seems to be a common theme with other people I've talked to.
Yeah, it's just crazy. And I'm just like, wow, how? So, you know, I try to post, but my main thing is I try to connect with all of my people. Even if they leave a negative comment, I still comment on their comment back. You know, hey, thanks for the information. I appreciate all feedback. You know, I'm always posting and connecting with my people on there. So, I mean, I guess the best advice to give somebody if they wanted to start is, if you want to start doing it, there's never a better time to do it. You know, if you're doing what you love, then who cares what everybody else thinks?
Yeah. Awesome. That's a great piece of advice. I also noticed, you started to do, some, product reviews on, landscape equipment and other things. So how did that all come about?
Well, it came about with, I think the very first product review I did was of post shields.
Yeah.
And I sent them an email and said, hey, you know, I'm starting to get into reviews. I'd love to review your product, and you know, you got to start somewhere. It's like everything. Yeah. And I ended up getting an email back, and he's like, oh, I'd love to send you some product to review. And I was like, well, so sweet, you know, this is great. Discouragement went out the window. It's like, yes, here I am. I'm back on top. Yeah. And so I get this box of post shields, and when I say a box, I mean a box. And I'm like, man, what am I going to do with all these, you know? And so the more I got to looking into what they did and how they worked and everything, I actually liked them that so much that I was like, man, I talked to the guy, the owner, Kane, the other day, actually, while I was at Walmart, and we talked about me buying some to actually put around my fence post, around my whole fence line. And I mean, I absolutely love the product. And so it got into, you know, Milwaukee. They're supposedly sending me out one of their new trimmers, their battery powered trimmers, this year. I mean, there's some things going on right now that, you know, could be in the making, but it's not a definite yet. But I found out the more I reviewed stuff on YouTube, the more chance I had of actually getting stuff to review on YouTube.
Yeah.
And, you know, me and Andy were talking, and he was like, I told him, I said, man, you know, you got DeWalt sending you stuff. You got Milwaukee sending you stuff. I said, but, you know, honestly, I've got a 2-car garage, and I don't know what I would do with all this stuff if they sent it to me. And so now I'm in the point of trying to figure out what I'm going to do with it if they do start, you know, getting to me. But my thing with the reviews was I started reaching out to people to try to start doing reviews on other products, and I'll actually give my honest opinion on it. I mean, you know, if I don't like it, then I'll be the first person on YouTube to tell you, hey, this sucks. But if it's something I believe in, then, you know, I'll try to convince you of, hey, this is why I believe in this product, and I'll give you a bunch of pros and cons to go along with it. So that's how all that started. And I really do like doing the reviews, but sometimes it can be overwhelming because I've got so much going on as it is that now I've got to take the time to, you know, figure out this product, review the product, find the information on the product, and, you know, take that time out of my day from my family and stuff as well.
Yeah, so, no, absolutely. Yeah. It's, it can be a pretty big commitment. You have to, I think a lot of people look at it as, hey, cool, you're getting free stuff and all that sort of thing. But there is actually a huge component of work. I remember talking to Jason from Ambrose Landscaping, and he was talking about how many hours he actually puts into filming a review.
Right.
And he's upwards in the 20 hours just filming and doing all the editing and all that sort of stuff because of the what he expects out of himself for the review,
right?
And the quality and the titles and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it can definitely be mind-boggling at times. You're just like, wow, how am I going to do all of this?
Yeah, absolutely. But it's so such a powerful advertising medium for these companies to do, and especially if they find a person such as yourself who will be authentic about the review and say the good and the bad about it. I think it's actually more powerful because everybody can tell a fake review.
Right.
Somebody that's just just overly talking about a thing and never mentioning anything bad about it. So you can, those are, I don't think, hold the same weight as obviously somebody who is authentic. So that's great to hear that you take that and run with it in that sense.
I try to tell people, I'm like, you can't really just get a product and automatically review the product. You have to try the product. And I think that's what a bunch of people that want to send you things don't understand is, when do you plan on doing a review on this? Like, is it going to be within the next week or, and it's man, the season ain't even started yet. Yeah. And I haven't even got to use it. Like, I can give an overview of it.
Yeah.
But, I really can't go and say how I actually feel about this product until I actually try it. So, with Milwaukee, I'm going to give an overview, an unboxing of the product, but I'm actually going to use the product on my properties for a month or so before I actually give a review on it of my thoughts.
Yeah.
I feel that's the only way you can actually do something. And I know some of these people, they get the product, they try it for, 1 day or 20 minutes, and then they're like, oh, this is what I think about it. To me, that's really not a review. That's just your basic thoughts of something.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think it would hurt your channel in the long run as well. And you start to lose that authenticity. Like I said, because people can tell right away when a review is not, done for the, with the right sort of outcome in mind, that you're just, it's sort of a sham.
Right.
So no, that's great that you do. I think it'll definitely help grow your audience. It's like you said with the relating back to your residential customers or your customers in general, that you can never be too honest, and it shows. So that's great.
Yeah, I've had my Green Touch Rex I bought them April of last year, and I just now did a review on them of the pros and cons of what I think of the racks, and so I got a video of that coming out here soon. It's already edited and uploaded to YouTube. I'm just waiting.
Yeah, no, absolutely. When you, like you say, when you use a product that you like and you believe in it, you're always going to go to the moon and back for that product when it comes to recommending it for other people. With me, Honda mowers are like my whole business is built on that HRC 216 mower. The properties aren't huge enough to have massive ride-ons. I did have a walker, and I've had zero turn and some other things, but they sat on my trailer for most of the time versus the Honda. And those things just take a beating, and they keep going and going and going. I still have my first one. It's, going on 12 years old now. I use a newer one, but I used that first one exclusively for the first 10 years. and now it's my backup mower. It's in the garage sitting there in case I ever need it. And the only reason I replaced it was because of the mower deck was starting to rust and rot out because we have so much rain here in the Pacific Northwest area. But the motor, transmission, everything's working great. It's 12 years old. It's mowed literally thousands of lawns.
Yeah, I think I seen a post on Instagram this morning of your new video.
Yeah, using the Honda mowers. They're just,
yes, sir,
for me, a fantastic mower. So that's like you said, doing a review on something like that you believe in is fantastic to do something like that. So we've covered the tips for guys wanting to do a YouTube channel and that sort of stuff. How does your family feel about your sharing online with the YouTube and such?
They hate it.
They hate it. I noticed a live video. I think it was you the other night, and you went from one room into another room, and I think your wife was sitting on the couch or something.
Yeah.
She's like covering her face. And
yeah, I try to get her. You know, it's weird that I can be live and I don't have a problem like talking to people or whatever. But if like I take my camera and I'm like walking around the house or trying to film a YouTube video or something in front of her, I have the same problem Kevin from Fall River has. It's hard for me to film myself talking to a camera in front of my wife for some reason. Yep. And I don't know why. But yeah, she absolutely supports everything I do. She don't like the time consumption that it takes away from her sometimes, but she still supports me. You know, and I guess that's my fault is because I get so into doing these live Instagrams and stuff that I forget about, you know, her being home or it ain't that I forget about her. It's just, I really don't know what it is. I'm not trying to say so much or get myself in trouble here, so I'll just shut up.
Yeah. No, I totally get it. I'm the same way, even with the podcast and stuff like that, recording the podcast. I can only do it at certain times of the day, like you probably know from our emails back and forth, partly because of the kids when they're home. It's just way too noisy, too hard to control. And also it would distract me knowing that they're in the house and could be hearing me talking, that, you know, I just want to be by myself, in the room recording, when I'm doing it, and the YouTube, doing the videos. I think that would be another, huge hurdle, not only recording yourself, but then, you know, having the other people around and in the background, just makes your mind, you would just be distracted.
I got a 2-year-old that runs around the house during the day. So usually my live Instagrams and stuff are at night whenever the wife gets home, and that way he's in there messing around with her. But you'll notice my son comes in the room sometimes when I'm doing a live Instagram and he wants in my lap because he likes looking at himself in the phone. Oh, yeah. And so he don't know that everybody else is watching, so he'll get up there and start screaming and yelling and
yeah, that's funny. So I've got a couple questions left, and the first one there is, what's your best piece of advice for somebody just starting out, or somebody who's thinking about starting out in the business? So they could, maybe they're struggling with a part-time job that they don't like. Maybe they're on the assembly line at GM, right. And they're thinking about, you know, this is not for me. You know, life has so much more to offer. They're thinking about a lawn care business. They're just, you know, that unknown of going out on their own. They're scared of the, you know, supposed lack of security of starting your own business. And this is somebody that you know, somebody that you only want the best for. What would you tell them?
Never give up.
Never give up.
That's the best piece of advice I can give somebody is never get up. Don't get discouraged. You know, I mean, I've been there. I've went through the struggle of being discouraged, but, you know, for other reasons as well. But just don't give up. You know, I mean, you sit there and you think about it and it's like, you know what? I'm going to do this. This is my company we're talking about. I'm not going to give up. And like I said, if it involves me going and hanging 100 door flyers a day, that's what I'll do if I have to do it. But I'm not going to give up. This is what I love doing. This is what I want. This is what supports my family. And I have to keep that in the back of my mind that this is what supports us. So don't give up on yourself just because of some negative things happen. Never give up.
Awesome. Excellent advice. And I would I iterate every one of those points just to hold your head up high and just go after what it is that your heart is calling you to do. If you're not happy, you're not satisfied in your current position, and you know that life has way more to offer, you may not be comfortable, but to just try, get out of your comfort zone, try new things, take that first step, and see where it leads you, and just don't get discouraged, and just keep at it.
Learning to talk to people is a big thing.
Yep.
The more you learn to talk to people and get comfortable talking to people that you don't know, your business will start to grow more than you ever know. I mean, just by having that positivity in your head, and when somebody asks you about your services and stuff, being confident in what you say and knowing what you're talking about makes people feel good.
Yep, absolutely. You could literally have the nicest truck, the biggest trailer, the most expensive zero turns, all of the equipment, you could ever think of, and have somebody else who has a push mower, a handheld blower, and a trimmer. And if that person knows how to build relationships and talk to people, they will outdo your income regardless of how much equipment or how much money you've spent on equipment.
Exactly.
It's all about relationships and all about talking to people and connecting and building that trust, and your business will grow and grow and grow. So last question. How can people follow you online and connect with you?
Oh, that's easy. You just type in Lanier Lawn Care, Lanier Lawn Care. That's my YouTube channel. My Instagram's Lanier Lawn Care. We're on Snapchat, Lanier Lawn Care. Facebook is Lanier Lawn Care. I try to make it pretty easy to where if people want to find me, hey, it's all right there. All you got to do is type in the name.
Awesome. I'll put some links to those in the podcast show notes. And again, just want to thank you so much for taking the time to come on the Lawn Care Business Success podcast and share your story with everyone.
Hey, it's been great. We could do this for another hour if you want.
There you go. All right, Danny, thanks a lot, and have a great day.
And thank you, sir. You too.
Well, there you have it, Lawn Care Nation. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that great episode there with Danny Lanier from Lanier Lawn Care. Danny shared a bunch of great tips on marketing your business for free and advertising for free using Facebook groups as well as Craigslist ads. He shared, a bit about his strategies there, and it seems to be paying off in dividends for Danny. I know I'm going to try implementing a bunch of his suggestions there, especially with the Facebook groups. I think, the Facebook, especially being able to niche down in the neighborhoods that you want to work in, can be extremely powerful. And the fact that he's doing this for free without doing paid ads or anything is just a fantastic strategy, especially for you guys just starting out. So as always, I'll put the links to Danny's Instagram and YouTube channel in the podcast show notes, and you can contact Danny through those, and make sure you subscribe to his YouTube channel and follow him on Instagram. And I think, and if you guys, just on a side note, I know I always ask for iTunes reviews, but I really do appreciate those. I haven't gotten one in a while, so I would really appreciate you guys taking the time out, if you're able to go to iTunes and leave a review for the podcast. You can do that at lawncarebusinesssuccess.com/reviews. And there's a link on that page there that'll take you right to the iTunes, so you can leave a review if you're an iTunes user. And if not, maybe just do me a favor and share the podcast if you do enjoy it on your social media. I would really appreciate you guys getting the word out. If you enjoy the show, if you take, if you get value from the episodes, it really does help me out. So I think that's it for this week. Here's to wishing you guys all overwhelming success and freedom in your lawn care business. Bye for now.